And here we go. Alright, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the AlphaWarrior show. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a loud and clear in the comments before I kick this off. Just want to make sure that you guys can hear my audio. And hopefully get a few more stragglers to jump in here as well. Let's see, I'm not seeing any comments right now. Okay, hold on, now they're populating. And we got the thumbs up. Alright, good to go, you guys. Episode 3, here we go. Got an exciting guest that's going to be joining us probably around the half-hour mark, a few minutes afterwards. Matt Couch. So, I'm excited about that. I've, had a chance to ask him a few questions during some of the Spaces shows that we've had on Twitter. And the guys, come on, he's huge. He's a huge conservative. So how could I not be excited about that? It's been a hectic day for me today, you guys. Luckily, the deep state left our channel alone today, so we get to progress with what the stuff that we want to work on. It was scheduled for yesterday, so I had some things kind of planned around obviously the California ReCall, but we know kind of the results now. I know we're not at 100% reporting, but we know the narrative that they're putting out there, so we'll briefly touch on that. I actually want to talk to Matt about that, so we'll kind of let that bleed into when he comes. Other than that, we'll talk a little bit about the division. We'll start off with the division with the president or alleged president, Mr. Biden, and the division that he's causing in our country. And then I want to talk about I know in the last few years, conspiracy was a word that was thrown around a lot. For those of you that have heard my stories, and if you guys had some funny comments, throw them up there. And like I said, I'll keep my eyes on the board and I'll throw them on here for you guys as I see them. So, but it's really nice to see you guys all here. But back to what I was saying with conspiracy. Conspiracy is a word that was kind of thrown around a lot. My little brother, I'm sure he's watching. I used to give him a really hard time when he would come to me with certain things. I was just telling you, out of your freaking mind. And over the last year, especially with the Alex Jones stuff, there's a lot of things that have come to fruition. So, I've heard a few people say, what's the difference between conspiracy and fact? And it's about 6 months or a year. And that's completely accurate. So there's a term that I started using on Twitter, and I'm going to try to use it on this show. Hopefully it sticks. But it's conspirafact. Conspirafact, if I didn't enunciate it, good enough for you guys to hear. But we're going to touch a little bit on the New World Order stuff, just because if some of you aren't aware, and I'll play the video as we progress, of one of the Australia health officials that used it and talk about, the mainstream media across the globe trying to clean that one up. And, I don't think that's going to happen. But before we get into it, there was a video I found a couple weeks ago, and it's only about 5 or 6 minutes. I'm going to play it here and throw myself into the background. But and we'll start with the prayer too. So my brain, I'm trying to keep it lined up with my mouth right now. So you guys are going to have a good night. Definitely going to be a night where we need one of these. But we're going to say a prayer. I was a little hard on my family here tonight, and I know they're watching, and it just had to do with my stress. This shows, it means a lot to me because of what I want it to bring to you guys. The message is important, and like I said, and I'll always say, I don't care if we got 100 people subscribed or if we got 1,000 people subscribed. I just want to make an impact on patriots' lives. A conversation I had earlier today with the guest that we're going to be having next week. Phenomenal patriot here in Southern California who's doing exactly what I preach on this channel. Get off the couch and do something. And he's one of the guys at the forefront of the Liberty Lap, libertylap.com. If you guys want to check that out, we're going to have him on as a guest next week. He is the exact person that I describe when I'm talking on these shows about one person making a difference, and I want to bring him on. Matt Couch is a huge guy, This guy's, just starting off. But guess what? They're equally important. They're both patriots. One has an established base. One has an idea that I have a feeling is going to change the way patriots can do things across this nation. A lot of people ask the question, well, what can I do? Next week, and hopefully tonight, we get some of those answers. But, back to what I was saying with the video. You know what? Before we get into that, I see a lot of messages, a lot of highs. If you guys want to give a shout out, let me know where you're from. We'll throw it on the screen, and we'll spend a minute or two doing that. And I see one of the kindest women I know that's on this earth, Bud Sma. So where'd she go? Let me find her. Harley. Thank you, Bud Sma. So I'm gonna let you guys know some of the behind the scenes stuff. All right, this is exclusive information about what goes on behind the scenes here. During the day, I got a 9-month-old little girl in my arms who doesn't want to get put down. And at the same time, I'm trying to put, all the information, get all the information set up, get all the videos lined up, do my systems checks. I mean, it's a lot because, I still have my job that I do on the weekend. So, there's a lot that goes on here. That's why you're going to find me. It's going to take me a while to get established with this and comfortable with it. So you're going to hear you're going to hear pauses, but that just means that you guys are getting an authentic show. I got a little bit of notes here. I got my stuff lined up on another screen here, but when you see the mistakes, it's just me being real. And with a lot of the shows that we see, today, and with a lot of the shows that we go through on these different platforms, one of the things that really encouraged me to do this was I felt a lot of these shows started losing their authenticity. They started losing what made me follow some of these great patriots. There's still a few around, and I still follow those guys. Pete Santilli, if you ever watch the links that I'm sending you, there's a huge shout out to you. The Pete Santilli Show, PeteSantilli.mobi. Go pull it up, buy beef jerky, buy coffee. You'll support him. You'll support the digital trail with Colton Boyles, outstanding patriots. But it was his show and some other ones that just kind of encouraged me to say, hey, you know what? I know people want source information. They want, what's the underground information? What are people saying behind the scenes? And I get it. A year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that stuff was important, you guys, and I understand. But we're at a point now where you don't need source information. Go to your grocery store. Drop your kid off at school. There's enough stuff actively happening in the present right now that what's going on. So I think what's more important than the source information that was used to kind of red pill people and wake people up is, hey, we're living it. What can I do? How can I help? What can I do beyond subscribing? What can I do beyond doing a retweet? And that's what kind of motivated me to do this show. So you guys could see someone just like you. I mean, we spend a lot of time in spaces together. I am living proof that if I can do it, with a 9-month baby girl in my arms all day, in addition to school pickups and drop-offs, you can do it. And I really want to motivate someone or several people to, put this together. Get a microphone, get a camera. I will help you. We'll learn together. But be the difference, you guys. How many times are we in conversations on Twitter or other social medias, and we hear just a lot of wah, and no offered solutions. We get people that come in with fear porn, and then they bounce out, and everybody's anxiety level, everybody's heart rate is it's out of the roof. And trust me, if there's something that needs to be told and it's going to scare you guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm going to deliver it. But there has to be solutions and a plan at the end of it. We can't just let people wonder, well, it's the apocalypse, this is Armageddon, this is whatever it is, and there's nothing to do. I'm just going to curl up in a ball and cry. No. We're Americans. And, there's a lot of patriots that aren't Americans that are watching this channel. The amount of messages that I've received, private messages on Twitter from people from Canada, from people from the UK, from people from Australia supporting this. They're not Americans, but they're patriots. I mean, I just wanted to reach out to Americans, and what I didn't realize the volume of people from other places that it was going to impact as well. So, you know, all my patriots from across the globe, welcome. Thank you for being here. I know it's probably crazy hours where you guys are at, but you know what? You're gonna have some entertainment with us tonight. So let me pull up that video so I can show it to you guys. And it's about our flag. And you know, we hear the Pledge of Allegiance, and like I said, you know, a few weeks ago when I saw this, I had never seen anything explained like this about our flag. And let me get into the video file. And one of the things that I really liked about it was this gentleman, he talks about our flag not as a piece of fabric, but as a representation of what it means. And like I said, it really was really amazing to me. And I was like, you know what? I need to share this with you guys. And then episode 1 came, and I slipped my mind. Episode 2 came, it slipped my mind. And then today came, and I was like, you know, I gotta get it in there. So let me open this up. Let me remove this because we don't need the intro anymore. I hope you guys like that intro. I'm working on another one with some really cool Easter eggs in it. And for those that know will know. And here we go. So let me mute my mic, get this going. And like I said, it's only a few minutes, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. And I think it's a great way for us to get started. So
I would like for you to know that I believe that if our flag could speak, these are the words that it would say. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present Old Glory. I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings, and I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically across the great institutions of learning, and I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me. I stand for peace, truth, honor, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident, I am brave, I am proud, and I am ready. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is held a little higher, my arms a little truer. Except for my God, I bow to no one. I am recognized all over the world. I am sovereign. I am saluted. I am respected. I am honored. I am loved. And yet I am feared. I have fought in every battle of every war for more than 200 years. Some of these battles include Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the Aragon Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, Guam, Okinawa, Korea, Quezon, Saigon, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait, Syria, and scores of other places long forgotten by all, except those that were there with me. I know because I was there. I led my special operations forces in the quiet of the night and at the tip of the spear. I saw them fight fearlessly throughout the globe every day of the year. I watched over them even during the casualties of Desert One, and they still loved me. I was on a small hill, Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, tired, but my soldiers and my sailors, my airmen, my Coast Guardsmen, my Marines, they all cheered me, and I was so very proud. I was at Ground Zero in New York City on September the 11th as cowardly fanatics attacked America. I was raised from the ashes of once proud buildings by brave firefighters. These were heroes who risked their lives to save others, showing all that America, although bloodied, will never be beaten, because those who would destroy me cannot win. For I am the symbol of freedom, of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have been soiled, I've been burned, I've been torn, and I have been trampled on in the streets of my own country. And when it is done by those whom I have served with in battle, it hurts. But hear me today when I say, I will overcome because I am strong. I have slipped the surly bounds of earth, And from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the uncharted new frontiers of space. And I have been that silent witness to all of America's finest hours. But my finest hour comes when my stripes are torn into strips to be used as bandages to cover the wounds of my fellow comrades on the field of battle. And also when I fly at half-mast to honor my soldiers and my sailors, my airmen, my Coast Guardsmen, and my Marines. But most importantly, when I'm placed into the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the gravesite of her fallen son or her fallen daughter, I am so very proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave, dear God. Long may I wave.
We can take a second. We can take a second to digest that, and I'll remove it as we get into the next stuff. So, reading the comments, I know that affected you guys the way it did with me. I go back to when I was a young baby Marine, and we're all just coming off of 9/11, from a few days ago. And I mean, even now, that video takes my breath away, you guys. Because if there was ever someone that can explain how I see every single flag in my daily life, whether it's a little 6-inch flag that someone has on their car, or whether I'm driving home or driving to work and I see people having it on their home, that's what I see. I don't just see this fabric. I see the American spirit. I see you guys. I see our military veterans. I see our kids that are growing up. The flag represents all of that to me. And that's why it's so crushing when I see it degraded, when I see it burned, when I see it disrespected, because it's not just fabric, or even worse, a symbol of a white supremacism, white supremacist. And there was some other information, we may get to it. I wanted to start us off with that because I want you guys to get where I'm at right now. I want all of us to emotionally just be captivated as patriots right now. So as we get into the conversation in a little while with Matt Couch, and we talk about a lot of these things that are going to be upsetting, they're going to anger us, that we remember that it's that patriot spirit that we have that's going to win. So I'll get started with this first video of Biden, but I just want you guys to understand, in case I forget to say it at the end, because I always say I'm going to do something and we forget it at the end. And AlphaWarrior show is on in my living room and my whole family is watching. We love all what our flag represents, and I take it personally when people disrespect it. They're a monster. Amen, brother. Amen. And Candace with freedom. We win, you guys. We're going to go through some very tormenting times in the weeks and months ahead, but think of it as growing pains. I know everybody that's here, you're here because the majority, you're awake. Whether you've been red-pilled or whatever, you're awake. You're here to support me. You're here to gain knowledge. You're here to spread the word. You're awake. And I know a lot of our frustration is, what's it going to take for these other people to wake up? I mean, look around. And unfortunately, with everything that's going on, whether it's at our southern border in Texas, hold on, I got an alert. Let me see. We're having trouble streaming to Twitch. This may be a trouble. Okay. If you're on Twitch, jump on YouTube or jump on Rumble or DLive or some of those. Yeah, this is the first time this has ever happened. So just give me a second. Save changes. And there we go. Can I get a thumbs up? I didn't just kill the feed for everybody, did I? I know there's a little bit of a delay. I'm hoping I didn't kill all the feeds. Eesh, if I did. Okay, you guys are still here. Thumbs up. All right, because like I said, that was a new one. See, Growing Pains live. This is live, right? So, all right, let's get this video of Biden. Some of you have watched it. We're not going to watch the whole thing. I got it forwarded to the part that we're going to watch. We're going to go through a few minutes of this. It's 7:22 Pacific right now. We're going to play it. I'm going to pause it, do some commentary. But this is the president of the United States. This is the leader of the free world. The guy that's supposed to bring us together. I mean, we miss Trump yet? You know, hashtag had enough yet? We're going to look at what this douchebag is doing. He is pitting American against American. And we're going to hear the words out of his mouth because YouTube or whatever will probably say that I'm being fact checked. So let's go to share screen. Okay.
About 2 million Americans are fully vaccinated. Today, over 175 million Americans have that protection. Before I took office, we hadn't ordered enough vaccine for every American. Just weeks in office, we did. The week before I took office on January 20th of this year, over 25,000 Americans died that week from COVID-19. Last week, that grim weekly toll was down 70%. And in 3 months before I took office, our economy was faltering, creating just 50,000 jobs a month. We're now averaging 700,000 new jobs a month in the past 3 months. This progress is real. But while America is much in better shape than it was 7 months ago when I took office, I need to tell you a second fact. We're in a tough stretch, and it could last for a while. Highly contagious Delta variant that I began to warn America about back in July spread late summer like it did in other countries before us. While the vaccines provide strong protection for the vaccinated, we read about and hear about and we see the stories of hospitalized people on their deathbeds, among the unvaccinated over the past few weeks. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, and it's caused by the fact that despite America having unprecedented and successful vaccination program, despite the fact that
I'm going to pause it for a quick second and rewind that part because this is the part that really lights my fire. Let me go back just a few seconds.
Strong protection for the vaccinated, we read about and hear about and we see the stories of hospitalized people on their deathbeds, among the unvaccinated over the past few weeks. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Okay.
So that's the part that really ticks me off. We're in a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So I was listening to some shows and started vetting some information because you guys hear all this stuff that hospitals are filled with the unvaccinated. Now, we all know that's a crock of shit, you know? And I should probably use another word other than that, you know? But jibby jab, whatever. We'll try to beat the algorithms. If they kill the channel, we'll go to AlphaWarrior Show 2.0. But one of the things that I uncovered today while I was doing some research and doing some vetting and stuff is, and this was new to me, so I wanted to share it in case some of you aren't aware. If you go to the hospital or urgent care and you've gotten the jibby jab, but you've gotten it within 2 weeks, you are considered un-jibby jabbed. So for the purposes of documentation, the person that got sick is an un-jibby jabbed person, even though they got it, because they say it doesn't go into effect for 2 weeks. So when you look at that and you do the math with adding the fact that a lot of these side effects happen within 3 to 6 days, then yeah, it's going to look like that according to their bullshit technicality, but we know that it's not true. So like I said, it was new information to me. I didn't realize that you're not considered fully vaccinated. There's that word, for 2 weeks. But that's, I wanted to make sure you guys understood that as well as I did. And we'll continue. Let me keep playing this because we're getting close to that half-hour mark.
And it's caused by the fact that despite America having unprecedented and successful vaccination program, despite the fact that for almost 5 months, free vaccines have been available in 80,000 different locations, we still have nearly 80 million Americans who have failed to get the shot. To make matters worse, there are elected officials actively working to undermine the fight against COVID-19. Instead of encouraging people to get vaccinated and mask up, they're ordering mobile morgues for the unvaccinated dying from COVID in their communities. This is...
Okay, I'm gonna pause it right there. So this is, like I said, I know I'm speaking to the choir with you guys, but this is what you guys have to take into consideration when we're debating, arguing, or having dialogue with people on the other side. This is the fear porn that they're hearing on CNN and MSNBC. You have the President of the United States, there's my air quotes, saying that we're getting mobile morgues. So if you're someone and you don't have the information, whether by laziness, incompetence, or you're just being stupid and you're not looking around, and this is the verbiage you hear, this is why so many of these people are afraid. There's an app, it's called Nextdoor, and I have it from my old home before I sold it, and I never deleted the account, so I still get these alerts from time to time. And one populated, and it was a conversation. This lady had said, "Hey, everybody, there's this Walgreens, or it was a CVS," and was kind of saying, "Hey, I went and got the jibby jab. They made it a real easy thing to do and schedule." And I just started going through all the comments, and the amount of people that were just excited about this and bragging about this, it just astonishes me every time. Even though we constantly talk about it, it's still a shocker to me. So it's frustrating, but we got to understand that we have to hit these people with facts. There's and like I said, I don't want to make this talk about the jibby jab because it's not important. I want to focus, and we're not going to finish the video because we're at 7:30, and Matt's probably going to be jumping in here in the next few minutes. What I want to make this, and I'll pull this off the screen, as a matter of fact. There we go. What I want to make evident is we hear about September 18th and all these different rallies and things that are put up for it. And I understand rallies are important. I believe in the Constitution. I'll defend the Constitution. I know protests, they're important, but we got to be smart. We got to look at January 6th as a prime example of what this deep state corrupt government, this tyrannical government, what they're trying to do. And we got to be smart. My advice, you guys are all grown adults, you guys are all patriots. My advice is sit this one out. If there's a protest or a rally, I jumped in a group earlier today, and it was Graham, and if she's watching, forgive me if I didn't get it right, but definitely a motivated Canadian patriot. And I just kind of explained in there that we got to learn how to do protests and rallies, but we got to learn how to do them in a way that keeps us safe. Not from the patriots, because patriots are good. We're peaceful people. We want to congregate. We want to share our voice. We want to share dissent, but we do it. We're peaceful people. We're law-abiding people. But when you have a group of 100,000 people or 200,000 people, it's near impossible to continue the vetting. It's near impossible to make sure that you don't have bad guys that are jumping in. And Matt's here, so we'll be bringing him up as soon as I finish this thought. We have all these people. It's so hard to vet who is a good guy and a bad guy, that they can take some actors or provocateurs and all of a sudden turn something that means well into something that's bad. So my advice was, thinking from a tactical standpoint, is instead of having these huge rallies or these huge protests of 100,000 people, 500,000 people, have rallies and protests, with 50 people, 100 people, where you know each other. So where if an outsider shows up, everyone safely can identify that person. You're working with your local law enforcement, because if you do this and you have rallies and protests of 100 people or 1,000 people, but you're doing that across the country, in my opinion, you're going to have even more of an impact because you're operating locally, and that's where a lot of the way we're going to save this nation is. It's local action. So that's just my advice. Like I said, I know September 18th is a big thing. A lot of people are looking towards it. And I know there's some good people putting stuff together. Just be smart, be aware of your surroundings. And like I said, you may want to sit it out. There's just a lot of stuff that's going out right now that is just, we don't have an opportunity to vet it. And I don't want to see anybody getting tied up into a narrative because they just meant well. So with that, you guys, I'm going to be bringing up Matt.
What's up?
How's it going, sir? Can you hear me?
I'm hiding in a casino restaurant.
I can't hear you.
Can't hear me.
Let me see.
Oh my God.
I can see you, but I can't hear you. Let me check your. Yeah, your mic is on.
Let's see here. Can you hear me now?
Let's see.
How about now?
Let's see.
Let's see.
Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, Matt?
I can hear you, yeah.
All right. I'm trying to figure out why I can't hear you. So bear with me, everybody.
No, you're good.
Let's
You're good.
try to figure this out. Let me see. Let me remove myself and just put you and see if that doesn't do.
What's up, everybody?
Okay. You have headphones or anything, brother?
I don't, man. I'm actually.
I need. Who's a lip reader that can translate for us? We do some closed captions.
Yeah, no.
Let me
no
see.
Headphones, man. Let me see if I can change. How does that help? How about, or does this help any? Can you hear me now?
Let's see.
You want me to log out and log back in?
No, I can't hear you. Can't hear you at all. Okay. We'll give him a second to jump back in, see if we can't figure it out. So Matt, just so you guys know, he's at a casino tonight, and he's breaking into his personal time, to share some time with us. So definitely appreciate that, and I'll finish kind of what I was saying. Here we go. Let's try this again.
Let's try this now. Is that any better?
No, still can't hear you.
Really? That's crazy.
Let me see.
Put it in the chat here.
You guys can hear him? Okay, let's see. I'm going to try something. So the wifey just came and told me that she can hear you. So it looks like the only one that can't hear you is me. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use my phone, Matt, to pull up the channel and then throw that AirPod in my ear. And we're going to ghetto rig this and we're going to make it work. So give me a second. We'll do this so we don't get no feedback. We're going to MacGyver this. So if MacGyver's here listening, we're going to MacGyver this. Okay. So this is going to be interesting. I can hear, but there's a delay. All right, let me see. Do you got any advice that you can give me? I know you run StreamYard too. Is there an advice in the settings that you can help me with?
It's hit and miss. I've never been on this end of it, right? So I'm on the other end of the spectrum here as a guest. So it's different for me, but I've had issues where I've had to log out several times and log back in.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I don't know what you're using equipment-wise, but if you unplug your...
Let's see. If I jump out, it's going to shoot down all my feeds.
If you unplug your headphones and see if you try to listen to me just through your audio system. That might do it, because sometimes StreamYard will lock up like that.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Does that work? Can you hear me now? Does that work?
Yes, it does. Are you guys getting feedback or any echo? All right. Can you hear me now, Matt?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got you live, and we're not getting any feedback. So thank you, everybody, for being patient as we work through that. I'll have to. First time that happens, so I got to figure out what happened. Well, first of all, thank you for being here, Matt. I explained to everybody that it's casino night for you, and we're interrupting the big winnings or maybe saving you from the big losses.
Maybe the latter, probably.
Right on. So I know the majority of my listeners know who you are, but for those that don't, can you just give us a brief summary of who you are and kind of what you represent?
Absolutely. Obviously, it's like casual Wednesday here. I'm at the casino with some friends, and we go once in a while just kind of let off some steam. But I'm an investigator, investigate a lot of political things around the country. I own DCPatriot.com. It's a big conservative news site. So basically, we report news, we break news, and we've investigated things from the Las Vegas shooting to the Rich murder, the Kavanaugh hearing, lots of different things. We blew the doors open, and our team was the one, for example. We're the ones who uncovered that Kavanaugh's mom was the judge who resided over Christine Blasey Ford's parents' foreclosure bankruptcy cases. So that's kind of what we do for a minute. Most of my guys on my team are current and ex-military, law enforcement, and federal agents.
Now, I know when I've gone to DC Patriot, because I echo a lot of the stuff that you guys report and write on there. There's some other big names that are on there that do some articles for you. You want to let my listeners know who some of those people are?
Absolutely. We're blessed. We've got Lee Robinson, who does a lot of writing with me, one of my dear friends. We've got Julio Khan's another one. We've got Mike Yoder, who's a conservative attorney. Jason Bailey just started yesterday, wants to write for us. So we've got some conservative names here that are coming across. Jeff Dornick's another one.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of your episode this morning with Jeff, and I like some of the stuff that he shares. I mean, the guy's dialed in. That's for sure. And cheers, brother. Cheers on that one.
Absolutely. It's with I found the steakhouse here at the casino where I could hear you get a signal out.
Right on. We won't take up too much of your time, but I wanted to touch on some important things that have kind of happened here. And let me see. I got a message. Let me just make sure. Let's see. There's some people are saying they're getting a little bit of an echo, so let me lower my volume. And since we're not phones, I'm going to change the settings to have echo cancellation, because I know that has something to do with it.
Yeah, the echo cancellation should probably fix it.
Let me make sure I have it on yours as well.
I think you fixed it because I don't hear myself now, so that's fine. That's awesome.
Okay, cool. So I know I did yours, and mine's good to go too. So hopefully that solved it. If we can get some thumbs up in the comments, let us know if we got the echo taken care of for you guys as well. All right, there we go. Better and perfect. So one of the big things that I wanted to talk about, and like I said, I love the stuff you put out there. But every now and then I have some objectives to certain things. Sure. But I do like the way you explain it. So we have the recall that just took place yesterday. I know it's not officially deemed because we need them all to represent, but there's enough numbers in to know what direction that we're going in. From the 2020 election, to this, I'm a firm believer, that there's been election fraud. But with that, I also throw a disclaimer out to people, because I try to be devil's advocate to myself. Like, I try to approach, of almost a decade and a half of law enforcement doing investigation work. I like to look at it as I try to prove myself wrong.
Sure.
To me, that's a good approach to take something. So I know, and I know you've are good friends with Mike, and you've spent some time on the tour bus with him and stuff like that. From what I see, and especially what's going on with Arizona, I know
Sure.
that there's enough to say there's election fraud that is taking place. Now, to what extent and to what damage, that's what needs to be. I mean, that could be argued either way, and I would have that debate with anybody. But I think that there's enough circumstantial evidence, at least, that we can't ignore it. So coming into with the recall election, there was a bunch of red flags before we even got to the voting stage.
Right. Right.
Our GOP completely failed us, 100%. One of the things that originally rose my concern, and I want your thoughts on this, was I know our GOP, we got a lot of rhinos and stuff like that, but President Trump has been pretty loud in supporting people and bringing stuff, and he was just silent as far as I'm aware of when it came to the recall.
Right.
And I haven't been able to put my thumb on why. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'll tell you the reasonings behind that, just from my take. If you notice, the Democrats rolled out Barack Obama, they rolled out Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi. They had everyone all hands on deck for the recall to make sure that Gavin Newsom won. They did everything that they could, and so the GOP did nothing. There was no Rand Paul, there was no Ted Cruz, there was no even Kevin McCarthy and Devin Nunes, who live in California, who are elected congressmen in California, weren't supporting Larry Elder. I think the GOP, in my opinion, lost their path to where they should have been focused on the recall first. Recall first, then you go to worrying about who the next person is. That is going to either, whether it's Larry Elder or whoever it may be. There's several different Kevins that were running out there. My issue with what we saw is that I believe Trump didn't want to put his name on it because he didn't see a course for winning out there. You're right. That's if you'll notice, Trump really does not like to endorse if he can't get the win, get the W. I think that hurt a little bit, but I also think we have to take a step back and realize that they have 2 Democrats for every 1 Republican registered in the state of California. They literally have a 2-to-1 voter advantage. And so they don't have to cheat to win in California. Now, I'm not saying that there's not possible fraud. I'm not saying it may not have occurred, but we're literally 24 hours removed here. My biggest fear for what I'm working on, I'll tell you this, Alpha, this is my biggest fear, is, for guys like myself and Scott Pressler and others who are working all over the country in multiple congressional and Senate campaigns, if we keep going every time we lose a race, thank you, if every time we lose a congressional race or a governor's race or a Senate race, if the first thing we say within 10, 12 hours is fraud, and then we have a whole other group out there that's going around saying that their votes don't matter, we're seeing low turnout for starters, which is bad. We're encouraging people not to vote, which is horrible for a constitutional republic. If people keep doing that, they're not going to have to cheat to win. So how do you prove that they cheated, right? How do you prove the fraud? Well, first off, we've got to get out in record numbers and vote our side. If we don't do that, we're going to make this real easy on them. They won't even have to rig things after it's going to get to that point. And that's my real concern with screaming fraud right now. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't possible fraud, but I'm saying we need to look at the evidence. We're only 24 hours removed. All the votes still haven't been tallied out there. They have a 2-to-1 margin. They rolled out all these big names, right, to push Newsom. And the GOP did what they always do. They sat on their hands and did nothing. And that's my big concern. I'm agreeing with you. I'm not saying there's not possibly fraud. I think it's got to be investigated, looked into. But it's concerning because they didn't have to cheat in California to win. They have the numbers. If every Republican registered voted, and that would be a stretch, right? If the Democrats just had 52%, they still won.
I wanted to ask you about that because I know when I had caught earlier today, I think it was today or maybe even yesterday when you were talking to the group that you guys were in, with the 2-to-1, with the registration numbers that are in. What is something that we can demand, from whether it be, our California GOP or the GOP in general, or just, us as citizens to verify that 2-to-1? Because when we look at some of the stuff that's been surfacing, like what we got going on in Arizona, where there's a lot of registered ballots of people, but these people are either dead or they don't exist.
Sure.
Since we know we have a 2-to-1, on paper here in California, what are the things or the measures that we can take to verify that 2-to-1 ratio is accurate? Because if it's not accurate, then we're always swimming upstream on that one.
Right. No, that's a great question, and I think that's one that's got to be answered also. Um, Voter rolls have got to be cleared when that time comes. So that's one thing you can do to keep them honest. But the main thing the conservatives have got to do is they've got to start getting involved in record numbers. Just looking at the recall rallies, and this is, I heard a lot of feelings today. I've always been a guy who I didn't build my platform by pulling punches, right? I've been all over this country, and what I mean by that is conservative. No one likes to be told, "Hey, you're dropping the ball," right, Alpha? Nobody likes to hear that. I used to be about 410 pounds. Now I'm about 280. I got about another 50 I'm trying to get off. And so, it's up to me to, push the fork back and to get to the gym and lift weights and to do those things. If I gain 20 pounds back, whose fault is that? That's my fault, right? And so when I look at and I'm going to use that as an example. So when I look at the voter situation right now, I look at these rallies with Larry Elder showing up, and there's 25 people, 50 people is at max. There should have been 500 to 1,000 people. People sat on their hands. They didn't get involved. They didn't register new voters. They didn't get people out. They didn't encourage it. And they literally, that to me is where we have to change things. I always say conservatives couldn't organize a lemonade stand. And it irks a lot of people. But, the left, they're corrupt as hell. We all know that, right? But at the end of the day, they're more organized. They're well-funded. And they literally believe what they're preaching. And they show up and they show out. And our side sits on their hands, goes to the lake, goes to barbecues, goes to picnics, and then sits around and goes, "Man, I can't believe, Alpha, that we lost our entire city council. Man, I can't believe we lost our entire school board. Man, how'd that guy become mayor? Dude, how are those two guys our state reps in this area?" You see where I'm going with this, right?
I do.
And how do we lose the congressional seat? And that's crazy. We, back 6 years ago, we were 64% Republican in this area. And we just sit on our hands and we don't get involved. And our inactivity, for not being, we're reactive instead of being, proactive. And it's costing us everything. And so my encouragement here is we got to get out, man. Guys like you coming out, having a voice, doing this is huge. We need more alphas. We need more Mac couches. We need people to step up and be leaders. That's the biggest thing to me we're missing, Alpha, is leadership.
And that's kind of what drove the motivation. There's two things of motivation I had to start doing this channel, and it's going to be something that I learned through. The first one was I wanted to be a voice for the guys from January 6th, from what they're going through, the ones that legitimately did something wrong but are being way over punished for it, and the ones that just got caught into a narrative. I know what it's like to get thrown in that solitary cell for a day with no criminal history. It sucks. And the other part was, I see on social media, and I see it, and obviously you've been in this world, you've done a lot of stuff with broadcasting and the, sports broadcasting, all that. So it's a familiar area for you. But what I see a lot is I see a lot of people going after subscribers, going after likes, going after pumping up their content. And you get all these people retweeting things. You get all these people liking things. And that's where it stops. So the one thing, from the very first two episodes that I've told the people that follow here is, listen, I'd rather have 100 Alpha Warriors, because the Alpha Warrior show is for all the Alpha Warriors that are coming here, the American patriots that want to be part of the difference. And But I tell them, it's going to mean once you're done watching the show, what are you going to do tomorrow? What's your call to action? Are you going to go be part of a school board? Are you going to be part of your HOA? Are you going to go try to help start a PAC fund, but to get off the couch and to do something? And that's what my encouragement is for this. So when you have people that have your voice, and like I said, thousands of retweets that are out there, people need to get that content, get the information you're sharing, get the information that all these people are sharing, and actually do something that's tangible with it. Because when we look at the election, the recall election that took place, I did see groups here and there in California, and you're right, they weren't big. But I think one of the main areas where we totally jacked up, and I say we because the onus is on all of us, is it just seemed to me personally like they made it more about Larry Elder or more about these candidates than they were about, let's just get him recalled. And then the stuff that kind of, there was like I said, I voted for Larry Elder. I'll make it public. But there were red flags that surfaced with him that kind of made me nervous and apprehensive about that vote. And one of the things was some of the things he's choosing. Like, there was no mention of the homeless problem that we have here in California. That's a huge issue. And it just seemed like it was being made about him instead of about Newsom. And it just seems like that was us fumbling the ball.
Right. He made it political instead of making it about Californians. And not that that's not going to happen, but when he talks about he's going to get rid of Dianne Feinstein, and he's going to do things like that. He's going to make radical moves.
Well, correct me on this number if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But from the stuff that I went when I was looking at the information, there was about, I believe, 25% or almost 25% of Democrats that voted for the recall. So it looks like we were pulling them this way. So is the stuff that making it political, did we end up losing those Democrats? Because if obviously there's a
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened, because they were, when you had Obama out there and Biden and Harris and Pelosi, they were able to say, look, this is what this guy wants to do. He wants to fundamentally change California back into a conservative state. He may only be governor for 12 months, but look at the radical moves he's talking about making. And if you make him your governor, if you recall Gavin Newsom, he may have a chance to do this. And it scared a lot of the moderates. It scared a lot of the left, the far-leaning left Democrats of what he might do. Instead of, like you said, and I brought this up this morning, instead of Larry Elder going, hey, you know what? We house 25% of the nation's homeless in California. 1 in every 4 Americans that's homeless lives in the state of California. Our economy is $1.3 trillion in debt. We have seen tens of thousands of businesses that have been locked down, shut down, and will never return because of these tyrannical mandates from Gavin Newsom. It's amazing. There's 60,000 people at a Chargers game, or wherever they're at now. I don't know who you guys, Rams, Chargers, I think are out there, right? So in LA. So basically, you've got, look, 60,000 people at a UCLA game, 60,000 people at a USC game. I'm just throwing this out there, right? Throwing these numbers out. So instead of saying, look, it's fine if you go to concerts, it's fine if you go to sporting events, it's fine if you go to red carpet walks, but but Jim Bob, who has 3 little diners and employs 27 people, his business is over. It'll never return. That should have been the message, that we can never allow that to happen in California again. We can never allow these kind of lockdowns and mandates. We can never allow small businesses to be crippled again in our economy. And if that's your message, you're resonating with not just Republicans, but you're resonating with everyone, right? And so, that's a big. I think there was a really missed opportunity here, Alpha, for Larry Elder.
Well, let's shift gears here a little bit. I mean, they all kind of intertwine,
sure.
But you're one of the voices at the forefront of this. So obviously, you get exposed to a lot of opinions. You're there with a lot of big names as yourself that kind of share this atmosphere of where everybody's going. Our country, I mean, it's very divided right now. And I'm not talking about divided, where we got the extreme left, the extreme right. But even within our own conservative party, we're starting to see a little bit of division, because even within our own conservative party, there's people that have taken, the vaccination. There's people that haven't. From what you've seen, because you've been across the country, you've been to multiple states. I thought I lost you there for a second. You've been across multiple states. Where do you see us? Is the division, is it going to get worse with us? Are we already at the apex? And if we are, what do we do as conservatives to bridge that gap? Because,
Sure.
If there's division, we're not going to win anything.
Right. I think first and foremost, and I saw you talking about this earlier. I was in the back room area, and you're absolutely right. With some of the things you were saying about where we're at as a country and what we're witnessing with the divide. And basically, number one, we've got to stop telling people that their votes don't matter. That's going to be a message that just divides this country like it's never been divided before. And first off, we're never going to win another election as conservatives ever again if we have this. There's literally 25% of our movement that's roaming around the country doing events telling people their votes don't matter and everything was stolen. We have to prove that. And here's the thing. There are a lot of technical aspects of things that are out there from, that Mike Lindell and a few others have put out. Now, I also think Dennis Montgomery is a complete fraud, and so do many others. My attorneys and some of those, guys that represent me, some really smart guys out there. Larry Johnson, who was CIA for 28 years, who works with me. There are some very smart guys out there that are questioning some of this data, some of this information. But the real problem is, first and foremost, on the voter thing, you got to explain it in layman's terms, right? You can't just throw a whole bunch of data at people and go, look, there's evidence of fraud. No. It needs to be like a scene on Tommy Boy, right? Or Black Sheep, not Tommy Boy, Black Sheep. Where Alpha, you and I are standing on a stage, and I'm like, Alpha, how many people are registered in Booker County? And you're like, Matt, 8,500. I'm like, Alpha, how many people voted in Booker County? You're like, Matt, 17,000. And then you look at me and you go, Matt, that's almost double the amount of people that live in Booker County. You see where I'm going with this? If you can't explain it in layman's terms, you're not going to be able to reach 95% of our base. Period. They don't.
So
They don't have the time or the care. So the stopping the vote thing, or telling people their votes don't matter. That's number one. Number two, how do you fix this problem? You got to be careful. What you're talking about backstage. When I was backstage, there's events going on this weekend that I would stay far and clear from if I were a conservative. I don't trust them. I don't know the people behind them. And first and foremost, they are looking for another situation from January 6th. They would love for another incident to take place. They would love to publicize that and go through all this. So I'm telling you right now that any events that conservatives go to, they need to be fun. They need to be patriotic. They need to be peaceful. There needs to be some live music, some barbecues going on. We've got to fundamentally change how we're trying to reach across the aisle and reach people. Right now, we all stand on stages and we just everybody's projecting anger and angst, and they have a right to feel that way, Alpha, but it's not changing anything. I think that's what you were getting at. Nothing that these people are doing is changing anything. So we're not registering voters. We're not teaching people how to run for city council. We're not doing any of this stuff. All they're doing is charging astronomical amounts of money. Several people in this movement are getting rich, and we're changing nothing. And that's got to change if we're going to fix America.
No, agree 100% with that. I did notice somebody said that they did hear Larry Elder mention the homeless problem, and if he did, like I said, I didn't hear it, and it means he should have did a better campaigning job on it, because, like I said, I was really searching it, and I didn't hear a whole lot about it. The other thing I wanted you to touch on us, and keep you for how much time you got for us? Another 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah. No, I'm
okay. I don't want to take your whole night of the casino.
No, you're good. I don't know I don't want to mess anything up. I'll just kind of show you guys where I'm at here, but you can see what I'm looking at here. Can you guys see that?
I'm feeling that one, man, because like I said, the whole doing the show and all that, it's new to me, so I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm starving, man. So the steak looked good. So please.
Cook meal there, man. So I'm like, hey, this is awesome.
No, dig into it, man. This is a casual conversation. Milley, our general, and the exposure that's coming out about the conversation between him and Nancy Pelosi, going behind President Trump's back, and that come to the surface. Like, nobody's even remotely denying that it happened. So since it kind of seems that everybody's accepting that, hey, this is a truth, that it's fact, and the Biden administration is keeping them there on par. To me, it's just, I know we've heard the word treason thrown around. We've heard if the roles were reversed, there'd be a shitstorm across, all mainstream media and social media right now. What are your thoughts on that as it happened? And what are your thoughts on it now that it just doesn't seem to be of any concern to the current administration?
It's amazing to me that the mainstream media is not talking about this story with General Milley. When I look at this situation, literally warning Chinese generals of our military movements. That's as treasonous as it gets, right? Then you throw in the fact that he literally committed treason by telling his generals under him to not listen to the commander-in-chief. That is treason. This is not a situation where, some of the leftists, even Lieutenant Colonel Vindman was like, he should resign. No, he shouldn't resign. He should be tried for treason. He should be hung from the gallows at Gitmo. This is a treasonous offense. If this had happened back in World War II, there is no doubt that my grandfather's generation, he would have been executed for what he did. There's no doubt. You go back to our founding fathers, and he would have swung from the gallows, the same thing that King George, would have done to many of our people. So, those are facts. It is treason, plain and simple. What Milley did, it's inexcusable. It's not a slap on the wrist. It's not a, hey, I'm going to resign. Sorry for what I did. Our Constitution is very clear on what Milley did and how that should be handled from a military standpoint. It's almost ludicrous. And the people putting this information out, as you know, Alpha, they're not conservatives. Bob Woodward is not a conservative.
I saw it was on CNN.
Right,
come on, like,
right.
If CNN hangs you out to dry, come on.
But the problem is, the other side of the aisle, Alpha, the other side of the aisle, they look at him as a hero because, Trump was crazy. Thank God he did what he did. So you have that divide in the country where it's like 50-50.
So let me ask you this with that divide then, and we'll bring it back because this is the one for me that I see being the biggest hurdle for our country is that divide. And like I said, and now I'm starting to see it grow a little bit within the conservative party. When you have all of us, whether it's on spaces on Twitter, I tell a lot of people, hey, go into these liberal groups, these liberal spaces that they have, and even if we're not going to agree on pro-life versus pro-choice, we're not going to agree on the way we do foreign spending, we're not going to a lot of things we're not going to agree on, but I have found that some of the things, if we can focus on that we do agree on, our freedoms, our liberties, the basic outlining of our Constitution. Am I reaching for the stars on this one, or do you think that there is an opportunity? And I'm not talking about the extreme left or the extreme right, but when I'm talking about our liberals that may be somewhat reasonable, it's hard putting those two words in the same sentence. Do you think that we have the capability of bridging that gap, or am I living in a make believe world with that?
Well, I mean, we've got a big group of our party that is screaming "Don't vote," which is insane for a free republic. We've got another group that is just angrily projecting things. We're not really a group that people want to come over to right now. Keep that, okay? So I'm serious. Thank you for letting me do this. Keep that. Do I think I have time to eat in a few minutes? Yeah? Awesome. All right. Thank you, hon. Appreciate you. Sorry about that, guys.
You're good.
But no, I mean, so I just think, when you look at the way we're projecting, which is, anger, telling people not to vote. If you're an independent, a moderate, what right now would make you, other than the lockdowns, the mandates, you see what I'm saying, other than things that are happening in the country, what would pull you over to our side right now? Because right now, we look like a scatterbrained group of wackadoos, in a lot of areas. I mean, it's crazy, and I don't want to get your show trolled to death here, but I mean, are people still trusting this plan? For God's sakes, I mean, what plan at this point? I mean, what a disaster this has been over the course of the last 8 months. And I've said this to everyone, and you brought this up too. I was actually just kind of entranced watching you there as I was sitting in the backstage area. This is not a quick process. You said that, and you're right. Folks, this is not a battle that's going to be 1 and 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year. The reason why I'm telling everybody to focus on the midterms in 2022 and to focus on 2024 is there is absolutely, in my opinion, and I talked to I've got some pretty great attorneys that represent me, from a national level, like Ty Clevenger and Eden Quayton and Eric Matheny. And they're all telling me this. Look, this is not something that's getting fixed overnight. We'll probably still be working on this after we've had an election in 2024. And people need to understand that.
I'm glad you brought that up, Matt. So, I mean, I'm still a hard, firm believer on all this crooked shit that went down with 2020. And I definitely share the sentiment with a lot of the people that follow me on, we got to fix 2020. I absolutely do agree with that. But it's almost like we have to have all these things all these different fronts that we're working on at the same time. And you brought up, trust the plan. And I've told a lot of people, listen, a man that I give a lot of credit to, if you called me today and asked me to do anything, I'd be there for him, is General Flynn. And one of the things that he pushes is local action for a national consequence, to do this stuff. And like I said, we need, I understand where people are coming from is how do we have a 2022? How do we have a 2024 when we have what went down in 2020? And, I have Rachel's comment up here of, I'm so sick of them getting away with everything. And I am too. I mean, I share in that frustration. And at the same time is if we don't get people to go out there and do the work, do canvassing, doing all this other stuff to help expose these things, then I feel like the only feasible chance that we have with midterms in 2022 or an election in 2024, the only swinging for the fence shot we have is doing what we did in 2016 when we beat the algorithms just because they weren't prepared to cheat with the number of people that went out there. Right. So I feel like, as conservatives, Republicans, whatever it is, that we have to go and get so many new voters, because if we can't stop them from cheating, then the only thing we can do is show up in such a high volume of people that we beat the algorithms. And I mean, even then, I'm like, is that even possible?
Right.
What do you think on that? And let me ask you, because I know I've been seeing the comments. Where do you stand with 2020? Do you think? I mean, you acknowledge that, yeah, you think there was fraud.
Oh yeah,
Do
I
you think it was
absolutely.
to the level that it
I
affected the election, or do you
Yeah, I
think,
mean,
or
there's no doubt in my mind that a guy who couldn't fill up 30 circles on a lawn got 81 million votes. There's no way that happened. No one believes that. Now the problem is, I have a different take on this. And conservatives aren't going to like my take on it. My take is they got by with it. They beat us at our own game. Trump wasn't prepared, and I have nothing but good things to say about President Trump. He's a great man. He's retweeted me over 50 times before he was banned. Love the Trump family. Love Rudy Giuliani and so many people. Jason Miller and Steve Cortez. There's a great group around him. But they were talking about fraud was coming. Alpha. They literally talked about it for 8-10 months before the 2020 election. They did nothing about it. They didn't put things in place. They didn't put teams in place. So why didn't we have teams everywhere? Why didn't we have ground teams? Why didn't we have poll watchers? Why wasn't that a major issue? Why, instead of tweeting me about if I want the cool Trump Christmas ornament, why aren't you tweeting, hey, who would like to volunteer and be a poll watcher in Milwaukee? Who would like to volunteer and be a poll watcher in Atlanta, in Fulton County? I feel like a ball was massively dropped here. Now, that's not on the president because he has people that handle all that stuff for him. So whoever was handling that dropped the ball. I don't think anyone thinks that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Even Democrats don't think that, for God's sakes. I mean, hell, half the rappers out there were laughing on November 4th. On Twitter, they were like, look, y'all, this is crazy. I mean, and they didn't vote for Joe Biden, right? There was literally 30 blue check mark, gangster rappers on Twitter that were like, there's no way Joe Biden won this election. So the point is, but the problem is, you got to prove that they cheated. And right now, we haven't done a good job of that, folks. And nobody wants to hear that. That's my take on it. We haven't done a good job of that. They control everything too, Alpha. They control the Senate, the Congress, the White House, the DOJ, the judges. It would literally be like you and I walking into an Antifa rally and shock the people beat the hell out of us. With just the two of us, I mean, we could charge in. We're big boys. We might take 3 or 4 out each. But eventually, when there's 500 of them, they're going to overwhelm you, right? That's just anybody who's been in any kind of combat or battle knows how that works. My point is that we don't have the numbers. We don't control anything. We don't dictate anything. So how do we prove it? Does that make sense to everybody?
I'm tracking. I could find the tweet. I have to go way back when it happened. And I know a lot of people said, Trump's a brilliant man. He definitely, I support the man, through and through. And a lot of people say, how could he allow this to happen? And just, humor me for a second if we say he did allow it to happen. My thought process on it is, let's just say for whatever reason, Trump knew, and I believe he knew everything that was going to go down. He knew the cheating that was going to become. He was aware of it because of what happened in 2016. What I tell all people, and I did a long tweet thread on it, was if he was just to stop it, then what would have happened? We would have won the election. Liberals would have been crying. We would have had some funny ass memes for the next 4 years. And then it would have came to an end in 4 years. And then we'd be right back to where we were in 2015 before we ever had a Trump. I feel like this is America's growing pains right now. I mean, we're so pissed off and frustrated, but at the same time, people are becoming awake. There are so many people that I hear saying, this was the first time that I voted. This is the first. It just seems this massive awakening to be responsible, because I feel like we got lazy as Americans.
Yes.
We got comfortable as a country, and we went to our day-to-day lives, and things didn't really affect us. And now we see the country's turning into a shit show, with whether it's gas or food shortages. I mean, it's a mess. And, I feel like even though it's a mess, there's still a lot of people that are still going about their day-to-day lives. Saying, hey, I'll see you guys on the other side. I'm just going to ride this out. And I think that's why we just keep going. It's this snowball effect, why it's going to keep getting worse and worse. So my personal opinion is I feel like it's still going to have to get worse until we can bring Americans to that precipice to where it's like, okay, this is affecting my home. This is affecting my kids. I got to stand up and do something. And I just hope that happens before it's too late. I hope people get involved. Like with the recall, I was texting with a couple buddies today and I said, well, besides voting, what did you do? And well, I voted. And it was like it doesn't seem like anybody did the recruiting to go get more people to vote in the recall. And I feel like we fumbled it there. I tell a lot of people, when you look at these things, look at it from two perspectives, because I agree. I don't know who to freaking believe or trust anymore. So when I look at things, I'm like, all right, if this was a white hat operation, what's the motive? If it was a black hat operation, what's the motive? And I try to operate in those two parallels.
Sure.
So before I cut you loose, give me your best vision of where you see our country in the immediate future, next 60 to 90 days. And where do you see us in the next 6 months to a year?
Okay. I think in the next 60 or 90 days, it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. And I hope people are prepared for that. I've already been told by, I was in logistics a long time as well. I've been in media a long time. But, I'm hearing right now that if you're not starting to prepare, to get, toys and things like that for your children, there's a chance you won't get them this Christmas, shortage-wise. So I feel like it's going to get a lot worse. We're already seeing shortages in the stores, on the shelves. You can go to a grocery store almost anywhere, Alpha, and see meat and stuff almost empty on the shelves almost every time you go in. So we have shortages. We have a real problem coming. We have a real logistics problem in this country, a real supply chain problem. It's going to get worse. We're way too dependent on China and other people, not enough self-sufficient on America, which is what Trump was trying to do. So I think 60, 90 days is going to be rough. It's going to be, Biden said it was going to be a dark winter. They're already starting to roll out the idiotic flu commercials. I saw some dumbass flu commercial a couple of days ago. I think I was watching the Arkansas-Texas game. And I was at the game, it's in a box. And of course, they have the TV going. I'm in the stands too, right? And the commercial comes on. There's a TV timeout. And I look over, and there's a guy, and he goes, I didn't survive the pandemic just to get taken out by the flu. And I'm like, what the hell am I watching? So they're going to start pushing this. And then, by the way, they have the technology now to give you the flu shot and the vaccine in the same injection. So they're going to be pushing that now. And I'll put it to you this way. I have never gotten a flu vaccine in my life, ever. I've gotten the flu like 3 times in my life. I'm 42 years old, right? So there you go. Not a fan of it. But my point is, I think that's going to be bad. Now we go on to 6 to 12 months. So let's say we're into February, March. We're coming out of winter, right? I think determining how much they hammer down on the vaccines, the mandates, the lockdowns, the mandatory passports, all that stuff, you're going to see what America's made of coming into the spring. Is America going to fold like a cheap accordion, or are they going to come out swinging and say they've had enough? And we're going to know something. But I think that's what we're looking forward to. I think it's going to be really rough the next 3 or 4 months as we go ahead into Christmas. I think come spring, people are going to be like, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm ready to listen to Alpha now. I'm ready to listen to Matt Couch. I'm ready to listen to Jack Posobiec. I'm ready to listen to whoever, right? I think it's going to be, that's what we're going to be. Hope and pray I'm wrong. Would love to be wrong about both predictions. But I'd love for you to be like, oh, Matt, you were completely wrong. There were 74 sold out bowl games in January, So I'd love to be wrong. You're probably the same way. We don't want to be right on any of these predictions. But
that's the one thing I say all the time is if I'm right, or I'm sorry, if I'm wrong, we win. That's a
Absolutely.
Good one for us.
Absolutely, man.
My last thought, and then if you could share your opinion on this, and then we'll let you enjoy that fine dinner, is I hear a lot of people, very patriotic, especially a lot of veterans, and they're like, enough's enough. Our Second Amendment, take up arms, do this. And I try to tell people is, okay, you got to, if you want to look at it from a military standpoint, a tactical standpoint, you got to identify who your enemy is. Because when the dust settles and all this stuff that's going on, we still got to live with the people on the left are still Americans. We all got to live together when the dust settles.
Yes, sir.
And so I tell people, okay, you're saying, take arms. Okay, who are you going to go after? Have you even identified who your enemy is? Because to me, the enemy is this corrupt government that we have that's going on. And you're not going to solve that with arms. There's 545 people, 55 people that run our country.
Right.
We have to win this by replacing those people,
Right.
What are your closing thoughts on what I'm saying, but what are your closing thoughts on when you see people and their frustration? Before we let you go, what do you want to say to people to kind of ease that frustration and give them a little bit of some hopium?
First off, get back into church. Stay in prayer. That's something that I'm blessed to run with guys like Pastor Greg Locke and Pastor Brian Gibson and Pastor Mark Burns, and Pastor Todd Coconato and some great pastors from around America. Jordan Cressel's another one. Jesse Gibson. I mean, I'm blessed to have some amazing, and Greg's wife Ty. I'm blessed to have some amazing friends in the church. And these are fighters. These are people that have kept their churches open. They opened over 5,000 churches when all the lockdowns happened. So find yourself a church that you can be a part of that's not going to close, that's not going to cower. If your church is running a vaccine clinic, find yourself a new church. If your pastor's requiring a mask, find yourself a new church. Okay? Those are not men of God. Those are not the kind of churches you need to be a part of. Find yourself a church that's got men of God who will stand strong. That's first and foremost. I think if we can get back to that, we start to kind of right the ship in America in a lot of different ways from a spiritual standpoint. This is also a spiritual battle we're fighting too, Alpha. So get yourself right. Mind, body, spirit's what they always say. Take this time with all the idiocy. Take the time to work out more. Take the time to go for jogs, walks, runs. Take the time to, you can get on Amazon right now and buy yourself a cheap set of battle ropes, a cheap set of stuff. Find yourself something fun that you enjoy doing, but better yourself in every way. It's going to be rough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but wrap yourself in things that are positive. Research things, read books. Get yourself educated. Take this time to better yourself as they try to clamp down on us with this socialist agenda. And when we come out of this, and we're Americans. When we come out of this, you're going to be better shape physically, better shape mentally, better shape spiritually. That's kind of my positive advice of what I tell people right now. We have to start thinking about how are we transforming ourselves to be ready for the fight that's coming. Gotcha.
I just saw a comment that popped up. Can I go back on my word and steal you for another 5 minutes?
Sure.
Me of something. Gonna be bringing on Bergie from Shadowgate. Someone connected us, and nice. we're actually talking. And I had explained to him with Seth Rich, and we're talking about that, and that led us into a conversation with Isaac Cappy and all this other stuff. And I saw someone bring up Seth Rich, and they said for an update. So, and I haven't really gone back into Seth Rich. So, with what you've done, because I'm not sure if you did any Seth Rich stuff, is there an update or you have some information on that?
Not a whole lot right now. We're fighting everything in courts with my attorneys. Everything's like basically, the FBI has been ordered to give up over 500,000 pages of documents after they claim they didn't investigate Seth Rich. And so my attorneys are now working to get that information. Of course, they're redacting everything, slow creeping it at the pace they're on right now. They want to only release 500 pages a month. That would mean we'd have all the Seth Rich stuff that they have in 83 years. So it's a battle right now. Everything right now is being fought in court. You can find, at the dcpatriot.com, we have all of our information up there on the latest updates on the case.
Gotcha. So just to let you know, with Bergie, when we're talking about it, I was able to get that video from, the first responders that responded to, the suicide crime scene where he jumped off the bridge. Like I said, I did law enforcement for almost a decade and a half. I've been through plenty of, traffic fatals and homicide investigations and such. And there was a lot of stuff in that video.
They may run me out of here. I'm not sure.
I'll make it quick. I was telling everybody, and I was telling Bergie that I literally broke this down frame by frame watching that video. And from an investigator standpoint, a lot of funny business that was in there. So when I have that dialogue with Bergie, I'll definitely shoot it over to you, and you can review it, pick it apart, and I'd like to know your thoughts on that. I appreciate you interrupting your dinner and your casino night with us.
No, let's do this again sometime soon when I'm in the studio where I can give you more time, brother. That'd be great.
No worries, man. Like I said, this is episode number 3 for me. So this is definitely a learning progress. And like I said, I appreciate the time. So enjoy your dinner, man. Thank you for having us. I'm just going to wrap up some things.
Keep doing these. You're doing well. You do really good at it, man. You got a knack for it. So keep doing it. And if I can help in any way, send me the links. I'll share it out there. And we need more alphas out there. We need more people doing this.
I'll tell you what you can do for me. And my friends and family always do this, and that's why I threw the ticker on the bottom, because I always forget. Because it's not easy to ask for help, especially sure. the way I was raised. I'll shoot you a link to my campaign and kind of what my story is and what I went through. And if you go through it and you find it trustworthy and the cause, man, if you could share that on your social media with the following that you have, that could substantially really help me out. So
let's have you back on my platform too. I'll return the favor, and we'll have you on, interview you on my platform next week or something if you got time.
That would absolutely be outstanding, brother. So enjoy dinner, and thanks for having you, man.
All right, God bless everyone. Take care.
Wow, you guys, that was freaking cool. A little starstruck. You guys got to enjoy that with me. For the comments that were there, thank you guys for that. You know, you definitely helped remind me of some things that I forgot. I always forget to throw that ticker on the bottom there. There it is, to help with my support. You guys share that information. You know, givesendgo.com/Defend Patriot Luna. I know financially we all kind of struggle right now. So if you're not in a position to help out financially, whether it be $1, $5, or, you know, $1 million, if you got deep pockets, it's okay. There's a section in there where you can shoot prayers. Prayers have a lot more value than money. So if you can't, you know, if you can't afford to help, don't feel guilty. You know, God is going to provide when I need it. But just to know that I have your guys' support and your prayers is awesome. With that, I'm going to be signing off. Thank you guys for showing up. I'm excited about what we got coming up in these next couple episodes. And I forgot to do the prayer at the beginning, so we're going to close this with the prayer. And then after that, I'll be signing off, and I'll be jumping onto Twitter with all you guys and get some feedback. So thank you, Lord, for bringing all these great fine patriots together tonight. Thank you for, you know, offering the special guest that we had tonight with Matt Couch and for us to share dialogue. Father, I just ask that you hear all the spoken prayers and unspoken prayers with everybody that's in this broadcast tonight. There's a lot of people across our country and across the world that have a lot of worries, Father. There's a lot of anxiety and pressure that people are feeling. And a lot of us have strained from having a relationship with you. And I ask that you put your hand on each one of our shoulders. Remind us that you're there with us. Remind us that you're there to protect us. And that as long as we have our faith in you, that no matter how bad this gets, that you will protect us and you will keep us safe. I pray and ask all this in your son, Jesus' name. Amen. I love you guys. Semper Fi. And we'll do it again next week. So take it easy.